Hello and welcome to this speed run of the 2019 ZX Spectrum platformer Yazzie. I am RuffledBricks and on backing vocals I have with me Digital Duck. Please introduce yourself.
Hello.
He's a man of few words. So yes, I'm going to take you through the beat the game category of this speedrun, which is the only current category we have for this game. And I hope you've been enjoying the excellent music in this game, but I'm afraid we need to get on with the speedrun now. So I am going to start the counter, or start the game rather, in 3, 2, 1, and off we trot. So, this marshmallow on legs at the top here is the character we're controlling. This is Yazzie. Yazzie is a gold hunter, and the aim of every single level in this game is to grab all of the gold bars, and that's pretty much it. That's the entire plot of this game in one fell swoop. It's a modern game, as I say, it was made last year, but it was made for one of the oldest platforms in the marathon. In fact, it's the first of 3 games in this marathon that are actually from the last 4 years, but made for the Spectrum. And it's very much inspired by retro games of the past. Duck, I don't know if you want to go into some of the things this is modelled on.
Yeah, so you might notice that the main influence is Load Runner. It basically controls exactly the same. The only difference is the use of pickaxe to destroy blocks and the general more openness of the game.
Yeah, you get pickaxes in most of the levels here, not all of them. As you see, this is a pickaxe-free level, but you get 1 use per pickaxe, so you can make 1 hole with each pickaxe that you get. Some of the levels you have to use all of the pickaxes, some of them are optional, and because of that you can actually use them to speed things up just a little bit. Now this is level 5, as you can see we've actually got landmines in this level. These will come up later on in much more sinister capacity. Basically the way the landmines work is they take 5 seconds to detonate and they take land around them. They don't actually hurt Yazzie or hurt the enemies, but they are something you need to be concerned with. And these enemies here, we should talk about the enemies here. The enemies are heavily RNG influenced. So in terms of the where they move, like when they move left, when they move right, when they stop, often interminably, then that is all dictated by RNG. So as you can see, it's probably quite a difficult game to route consistently, owing to the fact that there's so much variation in how each one can go. This level 6 here is pretty darn tricky, actually. This is the first kind of difficult level in the run. I like to call it wonky tridents because of the shape of the ladders that you can see there, but very easy to get trapped in that one if you're not careful, particularly down the bottom. Now, one of the things you may have noticed about Yazzie thus far is he has one very special superpower, and that is he can't jump, which distinguishes him from quite a lot of platforming heroes. But in this level, you'll notice we have a warp plane on both sides of the room. So those arrows down the bottom there, if you fall into them, you respawn at the top of the level. And so you can do this level in basically 2 laps of each shaft of the level. Now, this is a good level to talk about how we actually route this game. So you'll notice that the enemies take around 5 seconds to spawn in each level. And we can use that time for what I call pre-spawn routes. So basically, like the first 5 seconds of each level, the route that I will take is pretty much rigid. It's the same every time. And what you want to do at the beginning of each level is you kind of want to get as much done as you can before the enemies start moving in a way that will make those things more difficult to do. So, for example, in the previous level, level 8, there was a item behind one of the enemies that is harder to get if you wait for him to actually spawn. But since we got in there before he did, then we're all good. Duck, do you want to talk a little bit about how you can manipulate the enemies in terms of what happens when they see you?
Well, I was going to say that while the enemies are spawning, they actually can't hurt you.
Yes, that's right.
that's something that you can abuse quite a lot because you can walk through them while they're appearing.
Yes.
When an enemy sees you, it will. I think it's still some randomness involved, but it's much more likely to head towards you than it is in any other direction.
Yeah.
So you can kind of bait them to where you want to go.
Now in this level, I want the top enemies to stay. Good boys, good boys. Have some din-dins. So level 11, basically, those top 2 enemies, if they stay on that platform at the top long enough for you to get past them, then you can do this entire level in 1 lap. If they drop down, then you end up having to go back up the ladder again. So you have to do it in 2 laps, which is not as quick. So that's kind of an instance of how the RNG can influence how fast the run's going to be or not. Basically, a decent run will have a nice bit of staying. Now this level I like to call the crankshaft because it's very similar, looks very similar to a level from the original Lemmings called the crankshaft. Level 30 in taxing, I believe. Again, another one with a warp plane there, so it's quite difficult to get around. Now this is the first of 2 levels I like to call the yellow pyramids because it's very difficult to find any kind of fixed route on this one because the enemy movement is so unpredictable that you pretty much just have to wing it every time and get through it as best you can. We've actually been very lucky on this one because the enemies have mostly stayed out of the way, so that's pretty good. And then this is the second yellow pyramid, slightly more consistent, easier to route than the previous one. What I like to do is I get this side first, then go up here, and then we get the other side of the pyramid. And then ideally, if the enemies get out of the way, which we can, then we use 2 spare pickaxes here to actually get those 3 floors of gold bars in one go. Now, level 15 here is another one where we need to rely on the enemy's charitability. We want the enemies to push these bridges out all in one column, which they've done. Now we need to get 1 pickaxe before we go to the bottom, because, as you can see, we can only get back up to the top using this warp plane here, so we have to make a hole in the bottom with the pickaxe on the first lap, otherwise you're going to have to reset the level basically. You can reset any level at any time using the R button, and one thing I should note is that although this is a heavily inspired by retro games, this is actually this has infinite lives in it, so which is quite a modern thing. Now level 16 has nothing really special to say about it, so there's anything you want to read out, now would be a good time to do it.
Well, we have no donations at the minute yet, but I can talk a little bit about our charity if we have the time to do that.
Yeah, go for it.
Excellent, happy days. So we're raising money for Crisis during this marathon. Now, Crisis is a charity dedicated to helping homeless get off the street and into homes and in jobs as well, so that they can finance their homes. So the money that you'll donate will go straight to them to help people out during this current pandemic. So if you're feeling generous, please consider donating. And if you're wanting a little bit of incentive to donate, we actually have some bids going on at the minute as well. Currently, there are a couple of bids open right now. So the first one I'm going to read out is for Pokemon Red and Blue Reverse Badge Order, and that is to name the Charizard that we'll be using in that run. The current leader for that name is Big Idiot at $100. Second, we have Butters and Snob that are tied at 50, and then afterwards at $10 we have Kizaron and Mr. Anderson. So if you're feeling a bit of incentive to donate, then those names, they're all for grab, really. Currently as well, we do have another bid incentive going on as well for Might and Magic, and that is for the campaign select between Fiona and Godric. And those are going on at the minute as well. And Godric is actually currently in the lead at $10, and Fiona is sat at 0 still.
Okay, we're actually almost at the end of the game now. So this level 19 here, the main tactic there is to basically get as many of the pickaxes, or get all of them, before the enemies really start moving. So it's actually not too hard as far as levels go at this stage in the game, because my pre-spawn route enables me to do that. However, here, level 20 is the biggest run killer of the entire game. No matter what you've done in the last 19 levels, this will often work to undo all of that good work. So you'll notice again, lots of landmines in this one, all of which take 5 seconds to explode. So we need to try and time this so that the enemies aren't going to cut us off. Oh, and I didn't mean to fall down that pit there. I put the hole there in the bottom right because it gives the enemies more room to actually get out of my way. Now, we're at the top here. This enemy, we want him to drop off the side, which is done, so that's good. This is good RNG so far. Now, next thing we want to do is we want to try and get the mine just down to the left here. So we've got that, although the enemy is not in the best position for us to get around it. Right, this is a big risk here. I probably shouldn't have done this, but... Okay, so I'm safe. And now we need to get to the right. Okay, and that is very bad, because I needed that platform in order to get a bit of leverage to get past the enemies to the right-hand side here. However, as you can see, I was forced to actually detonate it, so now I've got very little extension over to the right to actually get past these enemies. And that enemy just died. That one, okay, he's respawned at the top right here, so now it's just a waiting game to see if these enemies are going to get out of my way or not. Often in this level, you'll reset as many times as you can in order to get... Oh, okay. Okay, that's a reset, unfortunately. So that is the first reset of this level. Often this can take several to get it to go the way that you need it to. We had to reset that one because we got trapped between two enemies there, and there's no way they were going to let me get away with that. So, right, so here's take 2. So we've got another clear run to get this mine here. Now, enemy's running towards me, but shouldn't be out... There we go. So, he's got confused. I've made the pickaxe hole. I got to the enemy's left there, which is good, because the enemy can... Well, if the enemy gets to your left there, that's pretty much a reset, because it takes so long for them to get out of the way that it's just not worth it. But yeah, this is a really tough level, this one, to do quickly. Like, it's not necessarily tough in and of itself if you've got a lot of patience, but from a speedrunning perspective, it is an absolute carnival of decision making. Right, I've made... Okay, I was extremely lucky on that one. Because the enemy dropped down there. I had a feeling he was going to come back. And he's dropped down to the bottom now as well, so that's good. Let's set this mine off again. Okay, so the enemy's stopped. Okay, this looks a lot better. So I'm going to get that pickaxe and the gold bar there. The last pickaxe so that we can get to the bottom right. And time is going to be when we see the ending screen. So be prepared on that. But here we go. Dropping past. There we go. Taking a hole out there. Getting the last gold bar. And time. And that is how you speedrun Yazzie in hopefully a relatively decent time. What did that come in as at the end?
Looking at the stream, I can see that was a 12:43 on your time.
Okay, not too bad. Yeah, level 20 was, as you can see, that's usually the big deciding factor on whether you end up getting below 11.5 minutes or not. But that was it. Anything you want to add to that, Digital Duck?
No, not really.
Awesome, thank you very much for your help. And yeah, Digital Duck will be on later, racing Jet Set Willy 2 Plus, or running Jet Set Willy 2 Plus, and I'll be on doing Manic Miner. But if you want to see me speedrun more games like this, then check out twitch.tv/RuffledBricks, and I'll hand it back over to UKSG.